And you know, God forbid, if it's premature baby, you're likely to lose everything you have, including your home, because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know the cost of a mammogram. You know the cost of a mastectomy. You know the cost of treating prostate cancer, because you don't have the insurance. The anxiety in this richest country in the world, that 750,000 Missourians in bed staring at the ceiling floor, is just not right. Ladies and gentlemen, guess what John McCain wants to do about it? When I said this 4 weeks ago, even Democratic audiences said, well, Joe, we love you, but you know, I think you're making this up. Here's the deal. I'm going to be as fair and straight as I can about it. John McCain has proposed. How many of you have health care benefits through your employer? John McCain is proposing for the first time in history to tax your health care benefit. So if you make $50,000 a year, the average health care plan is valued for a family about $12,000. So that means instead of paying taxes on $50,000 federal taxes, you're going to pay taxes on $62,500 a year. Now that will raise about $3.2 to $3.6 trillion, the largest tax increase in the middle class in all of history over the next 10 years. Now in fairness to John, the reason John is raising your taxes that way is because he wants to turn around for a family and say you have a $5,000 tax credit, or an individual, a $2,500 tax credit. And that pays for it. So far, so good, right? Except one thing. The studies show, and you small business people out there know this, if we begin to tax the health insurance benefit, it's going to become too costly for you to provide the health insurance benefit. And the studies show that roughly 20 million Americans will be dropped. Their health insurance will be dropped by their companies because it's too costly. Now, what's the deal? John says, well, I'm going to give you $5,000 if you're a family. Look at his website. That $5,000 goes directly to the healthcare company for a policy that you're trying to replace that costs $12,000. Now, where did he get the other $7,000? Ladies and gentlemen, where I come from, we call that a bridge to nowhere. I'm surprised. How would John do that? Well, you shouldn't be surprised. I've known John for 3 decades, and one thing he's been consistent about, he's a good man. One thing he's been consistent about is his economic philosophy. He has been where every time you think I'm kidding. Look at what John McCain just wrote an article for a reputable business magazine. The magazine's called Contingencies, and I want to quote from it. He said, opening up the health insurance market to more vigorous nationwide competition, as we have done the last decade for banking, would provide more choices of innovative products, read subprime mortgages. And he went on to say, after that, he said it will also provide more competition. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we want a philosophy that governed the banking system over the last 10 years to apply to the healthcare system. Folks, we got enough problems. John has been totally consistent. Look, we believe that we can modernize our healthcare system. There's 2 big problems, cost and availability. We have to modernize it consistent with the tools we have in the 21st century. And if we do that, we'll reduce the cost that families and businesses pay for, by about $2,500 a family. And the way you do that is you make sure, for example, give one example. The Rand Corporation points out, if you just had every medical record electronically entered, you would save about $77 billion a year. Why? Right now, your doctor hires 2 or 3 nurses just to submit your medical records, to make sure they deal with the insurance company, to make sure they're going out and making sure that they're going to be able to deal with transferring your MRI from one hospital to the next, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, Look, we want to make sure, and this is normal art, that every single American, they can keep the exact health care plan they want. This is no government imposition of anything. But if you don't like the health care plan you're in, you want to get the same for less, we allow you to join the same health care system that Barack Obama, John McCain, and Joe Biden, and all federal employees have. And we'll be able to get to choose. We get to choose 200 or more insurance companies. We get to choose the plan you want. And guess what, folks? Why is your cost going to go down? Because you're going to be part of a group of 30, 40, 50, 60 million people able to bargain with the insurance companies to make sure that they cover mammograms, they cover vaccinations, they don't count pregnancy as a pre-existing condition. They do, by the way. So folks, last thing we're going to do is we're going to make college more affordable. Look, the average kid graduating college are like my kids. I did everything I could, and I make a good salary as a U.S. Senator. I am listed as the second or first poorest man in the Senate, but that's really better off than a lot of other people are, for real. And guess what? Guess what? I borrowed everything I could. I co-signed all the notes I could. All three of my children who went to undergraduate and graduate school graduated way in debt. Way in debt. The average is for a private school around $40,000 when they graduate in debt, and for a public institution, $14,000, $15,000 to $20,000 in debt. That's more than the house I first bought. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a simple proposition. It's in the national interest that as many people who are capable of going to college go to college, because any country that out-teaches us, any country that out-educates us, will out-compete us. So it's in our national interest. And here's what we're going to do. We believe that we should broaden the notion of national service in this country. Getting millions of young Americans to serve not just in the military like one of my sons, but also in our communities, our underserved communities, rural and city, in our schools, in our senior centers. And it's a simple deal we're going to make. You serve America, and we will get you to college. You serve America, we will get you to college. Ladies and gentlemen, even in the midst of this financial crisis, I'll tell you how we're going to pay for these plans. And here's how we're going to do it. Number one, Barack and I are going to insist that in this economic rescue package, that if you, the American taxpayer, are financing the solution, you should be treated as an investor. You should get every penny back, number one. Number two, the tax dollars that are used for recovery are your tax dollars. We're going to close the offshore tax loopholes that let wealthy individuals and businesses stash literally $100 billion in offshore tax savings. You know, I got criticized for talking about patriotism and taxes. Well, let me tell you, in my neighborhood, if you stash $100 million offshore, you made in America, and you make people who live in America pay the difference, that's unpatriotic. That is unpatriotic. We're going to end it. We're going to end it. I make no apologies for that. None. That ain't patriotism. We're also going to eliminate the $15 billion a year now going to companies that move jobs overseas by allowing them to defer their income and defer their taxes. John McCain and Sarah Palin, Barack Obama and Joe Biden. It's how we measure progress in America. We don't